Good afternoon. We're convening the Committee on Transportation, Culture, and Arts on our 3:02 p.m. agenda here in State Capitol Conference Room 224. Up this afternoon, we have a couple of measures previously heard in this committee, so we'll be just doing decision-making on these. Up first is House Bill 229, House Draft 1, relating to transportation, which was previously heard jointly with the Committee on Energy and Intergovernmental Affairs. So the recommendation here is to pass with amendments. We'll amend the bill so that we restrict vehicles over 10,000 pounds and those towing another vehicle or trailer from the left lane on roads with 3 or more lanes going in the same direction instead of basing restrictions on speed. Secondly, we'll make sure the penalties are blank dollars for a first offense, blank dollars for a second offense, and blank or a traffic safety course or both for a third offense within 3 years of a previous offense. I'll note with that, this goes on to the Judiciary Committee, so we'll let them do their thing when it comes to the penalties. Thirdly, we'll ensure that the restrictions in this measure shall exclude vehicles using the left lane when overtaking another vehicle, turning left, and for public transit, school buses, and emergency vehicles as defined in Section 291C-26. And finally, we'll note that we'll retain the language in the measure so that it only applies to counties with a population over 500,000 people and not the neighbor islands. And it has, and we'll retain a defective date in the measure. So any discussion or questions on this one? Seeing none, Vice Chair.
Chair's recommendation on HB 229 House Draft 1 to pass with amendments. Chair Lee.
Aye.
Vice Chair goes aye. Senator Elefante.
Aye.
Senator Kanuha.
Aye.
Senator DeCourt.
Aye.
Measure is adopted, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Moving on to the second measure on our agenda, HB 1007, relating to the HCDA. I'd like to also recommend moving this forward with amendments. First, providing HCDA the authority to develop parcels outside of their community development districts. Secondly, allowing HCDA to create community facilities districts within TOD zones. Thirdly, amending Chapter 206E HRS to authorize HCDA to issue community facilities district bonds to finance development of infrastructure within TOD zones. Fourthly, provide legislative authorization for HCDA to issue bonds under new HRS 206-E in the amount of blank to finance infrastructure development within TOD zones, in particular transit infrastructure. And finally, we'll add as an attachment to HCDA the structure and intent from Senate Bill 1669, which was previously passed by the Senate and out of this committee, which will adapt and incorporate under the HCDA framework, in addition to the CFD provisions, which will also apply and authorize to this portion of the bill. And then finally, technical amendments to the measure. And I'll note it has a defective date as it goes on to further committees. So any discussion on that? Seeing that, Vice Chair.
Okay. Chair's recommendation on HB 1007 House Draft 2 with amendments. Chair Lee. Vice Chair goes aye. Senator Elefante.
Aye.
Senator Kanuha.
Aye.
Senator DeCourt.
Aye.
Okay. Measure is adopted, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, everybody. And with that, we are adjourned. All right, good afternoon. We're reconvening the Committee on Transportation and Culture and the Arts here in State Capitol Room 224 on our 4:20 p.m. agenda. Appreciate everyone's patience. We have one measure up, House Bill 1167, House Draft 1, making an emergency appropriation to the Department of Transportation. And testifying first is the Department of Transportation. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chair Lee, members of the committee. Tammy Lee, Deputy Director, Department of Transportation for administration. The DOT stands on its written testimony in support, but I would like to offer, what was missing from our testimony is the requested appropriation amount for your consideration. And it's from the state highway funds and the request is for $1 million. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's all the testimony we have. Seeing as there's no one else in the room to testify, are there any questions? Seeing none, all right, thank you very much. With that, why don't we go straight into decision-making? Thanks. Sure.
I'm so sorry.
Acting Vice Chair?
Yeah,
I don't mind
that's
doing
fine. I usually ask Senator Kanuha, but he's not there. So.
Anyway, okay, going into decision-making on House Bill 1167, House Draft 1, making an appropriation to the Department of Transportation. The recommendation is to pass with amendments, changing the effective date to July 1, 2025. And we'll just note in the committee report, the requested amount of $1 million in highway funds as that goes on to Ways and Means. So if there's no discussion on that, then Acting Vice Chair for the vote.
Okay, Chair's recommendations to pass House Bill 1167, House Draft 1 with amendments. Chair Lee,
Aye.
Vice Chair Inouye is excused. I vote aye. Senator Kanuha. Aye. Senator Decourt.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, recommendations adopted.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. We're adjourned.